Hey guys, we're here today with our 1947 Bantam trailer. Much needed wash, hasn't been washed in a few months. We've got our kit all set up, and here we go. Here's the before. We're going to do a quick walk around. Always good to walk around a vehicle of any type before you wash it. Take a good look at it. One thing about this trailer, it's something we've restored and certainly used pretty hard over the last 3 or 4 years. Definitely has some spots where it's taken some stone chips and some paint's flaking off. You can see there's our serial number indicating it's a 1947 model. And just doing a quick walk around, we're noticing there's definitely some dirt all over it. It's been off-road on more than one occasion and has certainly been around the block. We've got our roof tent mounted on top, and we absolutely love this for camping. It's super handy. You can leave it at the campsite and go, so you don't have to worry about tearing that roof tent down every single time you want to go somewhere. Here's what the tent looks like, all extended. I run the kitchen on the back of the trailer, and then have the tent there, and then the awning off the truck. So it's all set up so it's on the driver's side, opens that way, and super easy to use. The great part about it too is that we take it and right over here we hook it up to our GX460, and of course they're the same color. They're on the same wheel set. We spec'd an axle on the trailer to match the GX, and it's just a great way to get around and camp. Here's some rolling footage of us cruising down the highway with the tent on the truck or on the trailer and on the truck. And this is a pretty cool opportunity to just see exactly how it looks when it's rolling along. It's really a pretty neat setup, and I only have to carry one spare tire, which is real handy. Now, this trailer came to us where we started here. It's a little bit different from where it's at now. So it's a 1947 American Bantam trailer, very similar to an Army trailer that was built called an M416 during World War II, or a Canadian M100. And we'll be honest with you here. We may have told U-Haul we were hauling home a front-wheel drive Honda Civic, and in fact drove it over and bolted and ratchet strapped the Bantam down to one of their car dollies. So great way to transport one if you ever get one. They're not very big. They're the bed is roughly 4 foot by 6 foot, and we've done just a ton of work. Originally we always put our roof tent on our roof of our GX460, which of course here it is, looks absolutely awesome, right? Here we are after cruising around the UP and going camping, and we adore the roof tent. It's like having your own little tree fort. You'll never ever want to go back to a ground tent once you have a roof tent, and can't honestly say enough nice things about it. Really has reclocked camping for us, and we did a lot of work to the trailer to get it back to the spec that it's at now, and here's that quick walk around. So we spec'd an axle for it that matches our GX460. It's the 6x139.7 pattern for the bolt hubs, that's just identical, allows us to use a spare wheel set. We put all new lighting on the trailer. That was all kind of in rough shape. The original wiring was over 70 years old. There's the new axle there with the U-bolts on it. And really had the opportunity to make it kind of our own, and do with it, use it in a way that we really appreciate. Sadly, we've loaned it to a friend. We've been out in it ourselves, and we really haven't done much. We even parked it outside for a bit, and we haven't done much to clean it. In fact, here's the last time it got washed for you at a campsite in northern Michigan, just getting downpoured on. Of course, stayed great and dry in the tent, but everything was a little damp that next day. Onward to our wash process, our wash and dry process. 2 thumbs up here. We're going to take a deep dive on the trailer and just come through and, again, do that initial inspection. I always like to look at the vehicle pretty closely as I'm doing this sort of work. The reality is that there's always things you're going to miss. There's always things you need to be conscientious of. And, one thing I'll mention just real quick about these trailers, they've got just pointed at it here, the ball and pintle hitch is not a feature of the Bantam. Those are M416 military trailers. These are a little bit different of an animal. So more civilian focused. They have a tailgate. The M416s don't. These also have rounded fenders. The M416's fenders are square. Also pointing out here, these brackets I got from Compact Camping Store. They specialize in parts for these type of trailers. let us do some aluminum crossbars, all bolted together, no welding, which is absolutely great. Biased it a little bit forward so the tent would bear its weight kind of on the tripod between the landing leg, which is perfectly level with the wheel height. We actually extended the landing leg. So this is something that you can, stand alone camp in without having the truck attached to it, without being hitched up. And I actually usually run a set of recovery boards or a few other items to be able to level everything off. So let's get started with our wash. We're going to fire up the pressure washer here, get it going. Just a quick check. So the pressure washer's getting some air out of the hose line. And okay, there we go. All right, we're back to full blast there. And we're just going to do that initial hose down, right? There's a lot of dirt caked on this thing, a lot of grime on it. Definitely been off-road on some dirt roads and perhaps in some 2-tracks, maybe even further off-road, depending on a few places we have it. We also had some issue with the bearing buddy caps. Right there in the middle of the wheel, there's a rubber grommet that covers your bearing buddies. The old ones we have were starting to rot through. They can kind of get corroded on, or not corroded on, but a little bit degraded over time. And they had, at one point recently, puked a fair amount of grease all over the tires, which we'll try to address a little bit first with the pressure washer before we have to come in with microfiber or some other mechanical cleaning method. The water pressure is always going to be one of the safest ways to remove contaminants off any type of paint. And it's probably worth stepping back here and mentioning that we're not super concerned here about scratches, swarm marks, and other damage. The reality is that this is a trailer, a utility trailer, and it's easily older than probably a lot of our parents. That's something to do with mid-70s, which is just crazy to think about when you look at it. It's 76 years old. And really, I think the biggest thing for us here is just preserving it, making sure we're managing any corrosion, not adding to any corrosion, making sure that we're getting all that dirt off and cleaning it up. We do store it in the garage indoors, and that's probably why this one in particular is so nice. The person that owned it was from Southwest Michigan, way down in a little town called Dowagiac, right almost on the Michigan-Indiana border. And his father, the guy I bought it from, his father passed away and had owned the trailer for about 50 years. And it was in the back of their barn undercover, and that's part of why it was in such nice shape. Both wheels were completely rotted out. In fact, the wheels were original to 1940 tires were, and these did not have inner tubes, at least on the tires that were on it. And that meant that they would not hold air. So we had to haul it home in that U-Haul you saw earlier. Just looking at the trailer and realizing right now that gravity is not working in our favor. The front of the trailer bed does not have drain holes in it. So we're going to rotate it around here. Nice thing about a small trailer like this, only weighs about a quarter ton, about 500 pounds. Pretty easy for you to get around yourself. Oh, come on. Okay. So we're just popping the tailgate loose. You'll see that those chains, I flip the chains up because if they rest on the paint while you're driving, they can kind of chew the paint out of it. And that's something I probably should address at some point with some touch-up. And you can see how they've even beaten into a little bit of the bedliner that's inside of the bed there of the trailer. So here we are with it all open. And just right now taking that time to come through. Ooh, we got a little bit of this, almost like a sand there. That's not great. It's a little pebbly sand. So we're just going to brush that out as best we can. We're going to use water pressure to try to just remove that real quick. So we'll grab our pressure washer and blast the bed down here real quick. But yeah, it's been a neat little item to own. Paid about $900 for it. You think about that. You go and buy a trailer, from a big box store, from a retailer, you're probably getting something made overseas, something that probably doesn't have the level of quality and durability that this does. And this has been just a really cool little item. So I'd say between the axle, I actually had the spare wheel set for the truck, between the axle, some of the other bolt-on parts, the new light kit, and everything else, I probably have about $1,700 into the trailer altogether. And these are typically worth, on the used market, if you sell it with the tent in it, somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000 all in. So probably made it if I wanted to sell it, we'll make a tidy little profit on it, but I'm not going to sell it. It's just too cool. Here we're getting that crevice down on either side of the bed, the metal mates there. The interesting note is that in the military world, the M416 is actually designed to be amphibious. So there's no tailgate on those. It's almost like a little bathtub. And in theory, if you load less than 500 pounds into them, they would float across the river. Oh yeah, look at all that dirt and just junk flowing out of the back as we add a little angle to it. We're also going to hose off our roof tent here on top. The roof tent tends to, it's totally waterproof with that cover on it. It's just a really thick vinyl cover. We'll do another video and show you with it all open and how to open it, kind of what it looks like inside and all that good stuff. But that vinyl cover gets pretty dirty. Sometimes the front of it really accumulates bugs, especially if it's up on top of the vehicle. It's just a flat surface. So we're done with our pressure washing here. We're going to pop off our high pressure nozzle and just show you a little bit of our mise en place, all of our things we're about to get cooking with here. So this is our kit I've sort of selected for this. I want to show you some of the products that are involved. We've got our wheel bucket, a couple microfibers that are soaking in there, 2 of them right there. Both our detail brushes, we've got a bunch of those. Our wheel brush to get in between all the spokes. And then, of course, I am running a grit guard in this guy. You know, just the nature of this, the fact it's so dirty, everything else, we might need to dunk back in here. Good to have a grit guard. Foam cannon, these run about 20 bucks, 15, 10, 20 bucks, about that much soap in, and then about that much water. I've also, real quick, this is something product I get from Costco. It's about 15 bucks for a big jug of it. Salt neutralizing solution from 303. Been trying this, something I like to use on the trailer just because you have a corrosion risk on a steel vehicle that's 70, 80 years old. And then, of course, on the left, some wheel cleaner. And the wheel cleaner is diluted down. It's a Chemical Guys product. I get a ton out of that container. And we're just going to get the foam gun attached and ready to go over to the trailer, do a little test fire there. Whoa, hold on. Okay. Somebody moved the nozzle around here, so more bumped it when they picked it up. Okay, let's check that real quick. Let's give that a shot, see if that squares up. Maybe. Everything's tight. No, not quite. So we're just going to come back, adjust that. Again, I think it's a little too wide. There's like 2 metal prongs you can see in there. You want them to be a little bit closer to each other, and that will give you that nice fan of foam. There it goes. All right, so we're good to go. We're going to hose everything down with foam. Probably more than I even need to. Using the foam gun is fun, so you know the cost here is real low. There's probably 2 or 3 ounces of soap in there, and probably 6 or 8 ounces of water. I usually about a 3 to 1, 4 to 1 mix on that. And come through and just spray it all down. Make sure we get underneath. I've got that salt neutralizing solution inside of the foam gun, so just trying to get that coat onto the vehicle. There's another product that is pretty well known that I really like. It's made by Ammo. Larry Casilla at Ammo makes absolutely amazing products. Can't say enough nice things. They're not cheap, but they are really, really good. And they make a product called Boost, which is like a wash additive to just prevent corrosion and really enhance the power of a soap, a cleaning soap. So we're not super worried about finish on this. We're not detailing like a winter-driven car, and so I think we're just going to stick with a more generic soap. That big bin I get from Costco of Turtle Wax is about 15 bucks or so, and it's very useful, works just fine. So we're going to get the bed down, go back through, make sure we're coating the back of the tailgate there, the underneath, the undercarriage of this. There's like a box ladder frame underneath, and then spray down the wheels. So all that to say, this is a great way to just make sure you're getting the bulk of that dirt off before you really get in with the mechanical removal of the dirt, using microfibers to agitate, brushes to agitate all the dirt off. So this is a good first step, a good way to do it. And we're just taking the time to finish that. See, we're getting down there on the foam gun, starting to see a little bit of just straight water come through. So we're going to check that here. What do we got left? How much ammo we got? We're getting down there. All right, so we're just going to finish that out, kind of just blast out the last of that soap, and just switch back to our high pressure head here, because that's just where we're at. So we're looking at our process here. There's our high pressure head going back onto the little squirt there, but just checking that. Okay, we're all good there with the high pressure head. A little thumbs up action. And now we're coming through and grabbing our wash bucket and getting into the actual wash process of the trailer itself beyond just soaping it down. So we're going to hit it with some wheel cleaner because this thing could use a little bit of love on the wheels, and make sure we're getting that done. Sometimes I'll hit the license plate a little bit with wheel cleaner just to get it clean. That hangs down and gets kind of dirty, and I'm just spraying down the other wheel with some wheel cleaner. We're going to go through what I would consider to be a pretty traditional wheel washing process. I don't think there's anything super surprising or exciting about this. I don't really need to give it a lot of dwell time. We're not dealing with a lot of brake dust on the wheels. It's really more just dirt. So we've got our wheel woolly, or our wheel internal brush, that lets us get into the space on the barrel of the wheel behind its face, and then come through with the more traditional large detailing brush that I tend to like for these wheels. The GX460 wheels are a little bit more complex. Obviously there's a lot of spokes here, nowhere near as crazy as certain wheels, but definitely something you need to take at least a few minutes with to really make sure that they look right. I did take a set of the Falcon Wild Peaks and put them on the trailer. I have a full set of 4, just like I have a set on the truck, and I'll alternate between the wheels that are on the trailer and the wheels that are on the truck, depending on what I'm doing. In this case, just to pause there, the wheel brush, the woolly brush, or our barrel brush, is getting pretty dirty, so I didn't dunk it right back in because we haven't done the paint yet. We're only doing like 1 bucket wash here. The paint's not something I'm really worried about scratching, but just the level of dirt that's on that right now. I don't think it's super effective to mix it all in with everything else that's clean in the bucket. So we're working our way around with the brush, making sure to get around and making sure we're also removing any grease. We did have that issue with the bearing buddy caps, that little black cap there in the center, and there's some grease, axle grease hiding on these. So one trick too, if you don't want to dip your brush back in the bucket as well, if the brush is starting to get a little bit soiled, you can just grab that microfiber that's full of soap water and just use that to kind of lubricate your brush and get it back to wet again. So that's kind of a little bit of a quick tip, easy trick to work on with those. Get the license plate here quickly and just blast that down, and kind of work our way through, get a little more on that, get the back of that light. Sometimes there's a lot of dirt that accumulates in that space. So that said, we are working our way through. Here we are rinsing out this with a little bit of wash soap, rinsing out that and kind of removing a lot of the dirt from it with our wheel woolly. We're moving on to our second wheel here, and just getting a little extra liquid on that and hoping for a little more lubrication. I'll maybe mention here that my funny story, because this is a trailer from 1947, and when I took it in to get registered, I brought with me the trailer weight, which you have to go get it weighs. It weighs 480 pounds, plus or minus a bit, so it's a quarter-ton trailer. It's what they were spec'd as originally. And you bring in a trailer weight and also a bill of sale. Well, in this case, this has the... okay, that's pretty clean. In this case, this trailer has the number plate still on it. And so this is serial number 14584. It's a pretty low digit, pretty common number. It's only 5 digits. And I found out while I was standing at our local DMV that in fact that's common in the mobile home world, because the lady who was waiting on me there was kind enough to ask if I'd been to Alabama lately. So, don't put that back in, that's dirty. Okay, we're good. So I had not been to Alabama recently. In fact, I've never been to Alabama. And I asked why, and it turns out that there is a mobile home in Alabama with the serial number 14584 that at some point in the last 15 or 20 years had been stolen. And the National Motor Vehicle Information Database showed that vehicle ID number as a stolen trailer. And so I showed the lady a picture of what I've been working on, many of the pictures you've even seen in this video, and said, I don't think this is a mobile home. And she said, no, that's certainly not. And she had to call Alabama and confirm that I had not stolen a mobile home. So We are car people, we are not mobile home thieves here on this channel, and that is absolutely worth a chuckle. It took me an extra day or two to get my license plate for this trailer because of that. So always a fun experience whenever you have to go to the DMV of being accused of stealing a mobile home in the Deep South. So working our way around still on these wheels, and just making sure that we're not missing any spots, kind of wringing out that brush a little bit. And we're going to jump up here and just take a crack at the paint here with the microfibers. And there's not a lot of paint on these. I actually match the paint. There's a couple websites online. You can get spray cans of paint, and then a nice automotive 2-part clear that goes over that. I've had pretty good durability with it. I did scuff sand it and prime it before I put the paint on, but there are some spots here on the front of the trailer and the front of the fenders that are clearly taking rock impacts from the back of the truck on the highways here, and that's causing a little bit of paint flake and something a little bit conscientious of. Starting to see some rust spots in the front. Ultimately, maybe down the line, considering what great condition the trailer is in overall, I may someday take it down to, yeah, there's some paint flakes there. Yeah, see, that's just how it goes. Sometimes you're peeling a little off. I may take it down somewhere and get it sandblasted and really go through top to bottom and maybe have it completely bedlinered black or something like that, and that will really ensure that it outlasts me. It will probably last another 50 or 100 years, which is something I think is just awesome. So let me get a little bit of the uprights here, making sure those are cleaned off. There's definitely a little bit of surface rust on those. Those came bare metal, so we had to come back through and undercoat those. But yep, getting behind the lights there. Now I just want to grab the tailgate itself. We got our Great Lakes sticker. We've been around the Great Lakes quite a bit with this thing. And then as we work our way back across, I've got my IMSA sticker and my Mid-Ohio sticker. We've been camping there, and always fun to camp at a racetrack in this thing. It gets a ton of comments. It just attracts people, and it's just so different than what most people are used to seeing. And frankly, for way less money, much cooler than a pop-up camper. It might be certainly smaller, but it's not just some weird little box you tow behind your vehicle. Taking time to get those lights. Those are reproduction military reflectors there. Those were actually originally on the trailer. It didn't come with them. I had to order them. They were blank. I think they had probably pop riveted and fallen out at some point over time. And I'm noticing here, this is bedlinered on the inside. There's a lot of drag. You can kind of hear it. The rag, it's just not really working. So we're going to set this rag aside and maybe come back in a minute. I've got a couple ideas about how to address that that are kind of running through my head. But whenever you run into that, it's always easiest just to stop, maybe try something else, and go from there. So we're going to get the vinyl cover on the roof tent now. I find this gets pretty dirty. Part of it hangs on the ground when you flip it off the tent because of how close it is to the ground. It actually flips the cover, and the whole tent clamshell itself flips towards where I'm standing here, towards the driver's side of the vehicle, or left side of the trailer if you're heading forward. And yeah, this fascia right there in front, I tend really accumulates, I think, a lot of bugs too, especially if it's on the roof of your car. I know I mentioned that, but that flat face in an environment where you're getting 70, 80 miles an hour, it tends to look just like your windshield does after a long road trip. So just getting the uprights on this side. Ooh, yeah, you can see a lot of the dirt coming off that microfiber right there. So it doesn't look too bad. So we're not super worried about scratches and swirls in this car or this vehicle. So we'll probably reuse that microfiber later if we need to on it. So I've been thinking about this, and this is texturized. You're certainly not going to scratch it. So maybe we'll hit it with this brush. So that's working, but this is going to take me a minute. Just because of the size of this brush, and this is a relatively soft, bristled detailing brush. I love detailing brushes. They are one of the best things that you can buy. And here's my my ray of brilliance here. I keep this around just for kind of tasks that don't involve touching a car's paint. I'll actually use it to do the floor tiles you just saw there in the garage sometimes, scrub those down. I'll use it on the side of the house or maybe the fence. So we'll just spray it down real quick to blast any grit out of it, hit it with a little bit of wheel cleaner, Again, we're about to rub it on undercoating, or not undercoating, but bedliner. So I'm not really worried about damaging it compared to something that's got like a clear coat on it or a really valuable car or something like that. And this is much more efficient. So here you can see we're kind of swabbing the decks here with this thing, and that's starting to pull some junk off. It's a little bit tough to see in the video, but doing it live, you could certainly see that kind of river of stuff that the surfactants and the soap have lifted off that texturized coating, which tends to just have stuff kind of stick to it. So yep, we'll scrub down both sides and then go from there to just keep moving forward. This has been a really fun project as far as projects go. I didn't have to weld anything. I didn't have to do anything really complicated to sort of get the trailer to where it's at. And I can't recommend these things enough. You can find them on Craigslist, which is actually where I found this one. You can find them on Facebook Marketplace and all over. So there's our detailing brush again. We're just getting into a few spots. I noticed while I was standing there that, hey, that spot, it was not quite clean enough. Still had some dirt residue on it. Scrub, scrub, scrub. And that should probably do it. We'll just do that here and move our bucket around. Again, not worried about scratching anything. This is designed and it's already got some scratches and gouges all in it. At some point this summer, I'll probably come back through and put a coat of bedliner in this, like spray bedliner. It's, you know, not particularly expensive. I use the Rust-Oleum, typically the Rust-Oleum product that comes in just a spray can. There's our landing leg, and we're just going to get down in here, and this is the hazard of being a YouTube subscriber that's into detailing, but we're going to get up close and personal a little bit here. Okay. So we're inside the trailer bed now, just getting a little of that agitated soap and liquid there up, and using that now to get this front fascia. This was not something I could really reach with the brush, and get into some of the crevices and nooks and crannies up here in the front of the trailer. The trailer itself is made out of, you know, it feels like 1/8-inch steel. It's got these ribs and kind of different design in it to give it structural integrity. You do see a lot of these that have been reinforced over the years, where people have welded extra parts on. They tend to rot out in the front. Yeah, there we go. Right below where I was just scrubbing, because the M416s in particular were designed to be amphibious. You end up in a scenario where water accumulates inside of them. They turn into a bathtub, and where water accumulates, rust follows. And that front area, right all the way up there at the front, from where we're looking right now, you see a lot of them where the beds have rotted out of them. And sometimes you can just replace the bed with diamond plate. In fact, there are several stores online that you can come through and buy nearly complete replacement trailers, just in parts, kind of top to bottom. So let's grab a pressure washer here, trusty pressure washer, and get running and gunning here as we clean off the soap and the residue off the vinyl on our Smittybilt rooftop tent. It's a Smittybilt Overlander 2. Paid about $1,100 for it at the time, 3 or 4 years ago. Probably spent 30 or 40 nights in there at this point. You know, my mentality when I bought it was, look, it costs at least $100 a night to stay in a decent hotel. If I spend 10 nights in this thing, 11 nights in this thing, without having to stay in a hotel, I've basically paid for it. You know, I can enjoy camping and do that fun stuff instead of going and staying in a hotel, and it's worked out really well. So I can't say enough nice things about it. If you've got a vehicle that's capable of hauling a roof tent, worth looking into. There's some places around the country you can even rent them if you go or kind of going on an adventure. I know there's a few places like northern Michigan and Alaska and some of the other states that you can rent a roof tent, and that's worth looking into too if you're doing a road trip. So here we are just blasting away. We're going to save for last the bed itself, just because we're going to want to try to push all the water from above that on the tent and on the uprights down into that bed. That will get all that soap residue accumulating there rather than having to redo it. So I usually tell folks you're going to want to try to rinse a vehicle top to bottom, and you start on the top and you kind of go the whole way around it, and then as you work your way around, you start getting lower and lower. So apologize if it seems like I'm going just roundy round on the trailer. running around it a little bit in this nice sunny summer night. But that's just the nature of kind of the right way to do this. So we're working our way through, just making sure we're really thoroughly rinsing everything out. If you're worried about corrosion, you're worried about salt, your best friend is just getting a lot of rinse on it, getting as much residue and dirt off of it as possible, and then getting it dry and keeping it relatively dry. That's the easiest way to prevent corrosion. If you're going to store one of these outside, geez, I'd probably just be coating it constantly in things like fluid film or other rust or corrosion prevention methods. I've parked this thing outside before. I typically only do it when I really have to, or maybe when something else is in the garage taking the space, or typically only in the summer. I've never left it out over the winter. So I also try to avoid driving it in the winter. We're going to get that undercarriage pretty good here for that exact reason. If you're out in the winter in a salt belt state, which we are in, you're going to want to be really cognizant of that rust factor. Chloride and salt is very, very bad news for any vintage steel item you might have. And, just getting the axle done. We custom ordered that axle, which was actually pretty easy to do. You basically measure the distance between where the leaf springs are, and then you measure your total spacing, the total width you want the axle to be left to right there. And you get one in the mail, and you just bolt it on the car. Just with those U-bolts, I had to get the right size U-bolts, and that was it. Pretty easy to do, and not too much trouble. So we're just going to start cleaning up a little bit here, get this guy picked up, just if we see anything. We got here, we got a little more soap residue in there. Something needs to be blasted out, yeah. So yep, we're just gonna pick up here real quick and kind of go back through and blast off our floor scrub brush. I would never ever use that on the paint of a car anywhere. It doesn't matter if it was just a junk car, I would still never use it. But yeah, that's a good way to get out the clean, or get the clean going on maybe like the bedlinered space of your pickup truck, or the bedliner of this, or an undercarriage. Good solution for that. So here, as we tip back, we're going to just get all the water running downhill, use gravity to our advantage here. Just put a little pressure on the back of the trailer, pulls the front axle off front landing leg off the ground, rotates it back on its axle, and just helps remove a lot of that water. So we'll get to drying here in a second and do a quick dry on it. Don't have to go too crazy, and then maybe throw a few other things at it before we wrap up the video. So here we are coming in for the dry, and we've got just a big microfiber, which I've got a handful of, and I use really just for this purpose, to towel down, initial towel down on a vehicle of some sort off the bat with as much microfiber as possible. Good to get it wet first, always, before you start attacking paint directly. I'll do it on glass first. I'll use it on this vinyl top first. That gets a little bit of lubricity going on that microfiber, so you're not just rubbing a dry microfiber right onto the paint of a car. In particular, you can introduce those love marks or swirl marks onto paint that way. So good to keep it wet and do kind of a 90% dry. You're never going to get every speck of water off with this towel. It's going to get wet really quickly, and the easiest way to do this is to just work your way around, kind of top to bottom, with that. Just coming across. Yeah, we're still dripping a little bit there from up on top, but that's all right. That'll work. Scrub down. Ding ding. There we go. There's our probably 1/8" steel metal that just shows exactly how the durability of these things are. It wasn't uncommon during World War II to see these, there's some of these chips in them, to see these hauling way beyond their rated 500-pound capacity. In fact, there's many stories of these having nearly 5,000 pounds in them in a pinch. There's a great scene in Band of Brothers where Jimmy Fallon makes a cameo driving a Jeep when the 101st Airborne gets cut off in Bastogne, and he's driving the Jeep with the last Jeep load of ammo, and they've got an M416. It's actually, I think, a Canadian M100 because it's got round fenders. Getting hauled or hauling just a giant load of ammunition. Looks like it's almost right on its bump stops when it pulls up. So not uncommon to see upwards of a couple tons sometimes shoved into one of these trailers in a pinch. And in traditional fashion, the military spec'd those trailers with, of course, a 5,000-pound axle for a trailer that was spec'd to weigh 500 pounds and hold 500 pounds. You will see a lot of M416s, speaking of the military trailers, with tailgates cut into them. There's varying levels of how well that's been done over the years. Some of them are really, really nice. Some of them are not. So if you're shopping for one, make sure that it's not a total hack job. You tend to see a lot more M416s than you do Bantams. Again, we're having the problem with the microfiber kind of sticking. You can't really rub it on this coarse bedliner, but you can sort of throw it on. Check this out. And look at the water just getting velcroed into that microfiber. You can just see it. You're almost like instantly back to a matte finish. That's pretty nifty right there. That shows you just how powerful these microfiber towels are. And outside of the detailing brush, probably one of my other favorite products in regards to detailing a vehicle. And see, I'll just blot this thing on. This towel is almost completely soaked. If you wrung it out, you probably get a couple cups of water out of it, maybe more. But it is pulling a lot of the water out of that coarse textured bed. So yeah, you can see we missed a few spots. That's just kind of how it goes on something like this. It's got a lot of nooks and crannies, but we'll use this now because we're not going to be quite as worried about scratches. Maybe the back side of it to just do the wheels real quick. Just make sure we're not missing anything on the wheel faces. And check. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good. Whoa, hold up, there's a puddle right there. Yep, and look at this, 1, 2, 3. Hey, look at this, sucked it right up. That's really cool. Alright, this shows how powerful those things really are. And these microfibers are cheap. I get the big packs at Costco of, I think, 36. They typically run like $15 to $16.99. Sometimes they're on sale for even less. I just use those things to death. And then once they're really spent and they've been through the washer 3 or 4 times, washed, done 3 or 4 or 5 car washes, you know what we do with them? We turn them into grease rags and then we throw them away. So we get a long life. I typically would say a microfiber lasts me over a year. Does a whole summer of car washes. They get washed multiple times and then go from there. Another top tip, don't put your microfibers in the washing machine with other stuff. Wash them with just other microfibers. Do not use fabric softener. Make sure that you're just washing microfibers just with a little bit of detergent. You don't want to mix them with cotton in particular. The cotton will clog the pores, the threads, the Velcro inside that microfiber. So here's a quick walk around. Just taking a look, checking for any last little spots. And it's looking pretty good. We are going to do something that I normally abhor and use different products for, but we do keep some traditional tire shine on hand. This is a great application for this. This is something that's just going to kind of frame out the vehicle, make it look nice, make it look kind of extra clean when it's rolling down the highway. We're not going anywhere with it right away other than back into the garage, so there will be plenty of time for this product to absorb. Oops, fumble. We drop stuff a lot. That's who we are. It gives it plenty of time to absorb this stuff into the wheel itself or into the tire itself and not fling all over the car. If you were to jump in this car or jump in this your truck and tow this trailer down the road, you would fling that all over the place. Another thing we're going to do real quick, 303 aerospace protectant. Great product. It's an Armor All like product. Gives it a pretty high sheen. But it's not going to potentially be as problematic as Armor All. There's kind of been some long-term issues with some of their products. This is something I use on our boat vinyl. I use on dashboards sometimes, although it is a little shiny for dashboards. I'll often mop it off. And just go around here and cover this vinyl topper for the roof tent. And you can see there, man, does that give that a nice, deep shine. Boy, talk about just kind of going back to a factory finish. and that'll soak in, and that will give it some, water repellency. It will give it UV protection. It's effectively, and I like to tell people this, vinyl and rubber in particular is a lot like skin. It's got elasticity to it. As it ages as a rubber product, it will become less elastic. It will have less natural oil in it or oils in it. UV accelerates that process. It's kind of like if you went to a tanning salon every day. If you park this outside, it will start cooking that vinyl. And these replacement covers are not particularly cheap. They're a few $100, I think. And I don't want to buy another one anytime soon. So we're just going to go through 303 Protect this, and this will ensure that if this thing does sit outside, even with the roof tent on it for a week or something like that, it's never really going to see any real wear or damage. So working our way around, just making sure to rub all that product in thoroughly, and it'll kind of absorb into it. I like this product on convertible tops too. The only thing that I tend to find that's an issue with it is that sometimes it can run a little bit. So if it gets wet and it rains a lot, it almost seems like the product will kind of run off the convertible top onto the paint and give a little bit of a greasy finish on certain parts of the paint. It cleans right up, it'll wash right off. Odds are you're going to have to wash the car anyways because you've just driven it in the rain. But just something to be aware of, that if you're really worried about that, or maybe something sensitive kind of downstream of this, if you're doing like a Landau roof and you've got other issues, something to think about. Great product though, 15, 20 bucks a bottle, really, really good stuff. So here's our final result, and I'm glad that you guys could tune in and join as we walk around here. This trailer's probably gone several thousand miles since its last real wash. We take it all over the state and the region, and someday we'll probably take it all over the country. And it's just a really cool item. Everybody that walks in the garage looks at our S2000, looks at our GX right there, and looks at our Camaro, and then sees this, and the first question they ask is about the trailer. Everybody's seen a Camaro, everybody's seen an S2000. Not everybody has seen a military trailer that's been converted to civilian use, and then has all this kind of kit on it. And of course, the color matches the GX, the wheel set matches the GX. We even loan it out, and I love this photo. We loaned this out to a friend. They took it up to northern Michigan to go dirt biking, and it just goes to show you just how awesome that looks. They got to haul the dirt bike up in their pickup bed, and then bolt the trailer on and just head north. So I can be up and moving and camping just within about an hour or so, just of being ready, just because of how this is all set up. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I just wanted to show a last pic of what this thing really looks like on the trail. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Happy to share pictures of the build, discuss kind of different options with it. This is very much a car people thing. If you're going to have a cool truck and going to go off-road, it's really great to have a cool trailer. Have a great day.